Hey everyone, today on the plastic canvas we're painting Severity from Zombie 15. Hey guys, welcome back to the Plastic Canvas. My name's Matt and we're continuing on with our Zombie 15 playable characters series. Again, like the others, I've already started Severity. Check out the Siphon video, which is the first one in the series, just to sort of see why they've already been started. Yep, sort of what I'm doing with them. So yeah, got Severity's card here. So just sort of coming along. Got the skirt, her undershirt, socks done. So yeah, just sort of going on with her jacket, cardigan thing. Get the shoes painted, get onto her hair. Yeah, so she's coming along. But yeah, just in case you haven't seen the other videos in the series, so Zombie 15 is a 15-minute real-time co-op zombie game. Really fast-paced. You are up against the clock. You have objectives to meet, and so yeah, these minis, they're just not on the board for long, and even though they're on there for up to 15 minutes, no one that's playing the game has the time to look that carefully at them. So not going for super high quality, just going for, so they'll look good on the table, but yeah, not going to be spending too long on them, just because they won't be looked at, that closely. They're not going to be sitting on there, for an hour or anything like that for people to really enjoy. Just there to, just there to do the job. So every character's got a color theme to them. So Siphon's yellow, Vance is green, Severity's blue. Her theme isn't super blue. Some of the others, the color comes through a lot more. But yeah, so just trying to push that blue through a bit. So yeah, so we'll get into painting her. And yeah, anytime I've got something to share, as I have been doing, I'll slow it down so I can share with you what I'm learning along the way. But yeah, I'll try and get sort of some longer stretches of just painting, so I'm not interrupting too much. All right, so let's get into some painting. So just off to the side here for the last minute or so, I've just been getting some colours ready on my palette that I'll be using, just some of the blues, and a grey and a black that I'll be mixing together for her jacket. There's a couple of different ways while I've been painting that I've gone about mixing colours together. What I did when I first started was, let's say, like if I grab her card, so it's a dark grey, so like the base is grey with some black mixed in. What I was doing was I would put some grey down on the palette and then drop some black into it, mix that up and keep mixing till I was sort of at the point that I was happy with. But then what would sort of happen is sometimes I'd go too far and too much black, then drop some more grey in, and then kind of go backwards and forwards. What I found is an easier way is, if you're going to be mixing like grey and black together, drop your grey and black separately, and then just slowly just take some of the black and even like take some of the grey, start a little pool with it, separate to where you actually dropped it, and then take some black, mix it in, and then you can just take from your two colours as you need. So if you're mixing, say, 2 colours to make a new one, you'll end up with three pools of colours, your grey and your black, which you can pull from to mix, and then your third one, which is where you've actually mixed it together. And that way you don't waste any paint, because if you like how I started off with, if you do a blob of grey and then put some black in, well, if you then go too far, well, now you're adding more grey or more black, and you're just wasting your paint. So yeah, so if you just do grey and black separately and then bring them together into a third one, then you're not wasting your paint. You're just using small amounts, because it is really surprising how little paint you need to use on these minis. I mean, yeah, they are small, but you don't need to use much. So that's definitely a way that I found to save a bit of paint, and it makes mixing a whole lot easier. I think I've brought this up in each of my videos so far, but just another quick little thing about the order in which you paint the parts of your mini. So I've talked about painting inside out, so starting with the lowest layer of the model and then working your way to the highest layer. And in the last one, which was with Vance, I talked about like I sort of imagine myself being that mini, and if I was putting those clothes on, what would I put first, second, and so on. So trying to paint the thing that you would put on last, paint it last, because it's going to be the highest layer. But then you get some cases like this where her hair here at the back is going over her jacket. So then because her hair is going over the jacket, I paint the hair after painting the jacket. I mean, it's all pretty simple stuff, but yeah, it's just little things that make a difference. Yeah, there's a bit going on with painting minis, and it wasn't necessarily something that I got right every time at the start, and so I sort of found, I was going back, touching bits up more than what I needed to, but once I sort of got that order down pat, I just don't go back nearly as much as what I used to. So it's definitely a time save, and anywhere that you can save time, that is definitely a good thing. Okay, so really good example here of why getting your your paint consistency under control early on is really important. So as you can see with the hair that I've been doing, a bit thin, and it's run there underneath her chin into her neck. Not the end of the world. Not going to be a super hard fix, but it is now something that I need to spend more time on than what I would have wanted to. So yeah, that is a really important skill to focus on as you start. And it was something, the two things that I've been focusing on have just been, yeah, paint consistency and just brush control. So just knowing where I want to put paint and just being able to control the brush, and just make sure I'm not slopping it around all over the place. Because I figure pretty much every technique that comes that I'm going to work on in the future is going to have those two skills within them: brush control and paint consistency. So yeah, so those are the things that I'm focusing on at the moment, and obviously doesn't always come out, so I'll have to let that dry, and then touch that up. But the rest of her's sort of come along pretty well. You know, so the little things like with the brush control, just with her shoes there, you know, just I'm really happy with how they've come up there. You know, pretty thin lines going on there. So yeah, so little wins just here and there. But yeah, so those are the two definite things that I've been focusing on. I mean, other things, you know, come and go. But yeah, those are the two main things. So if I get to the end of a mini and I'm happy with the consistency that I painted with and the control that I had. All right, so just at the end of that last video there, I didn't notice that it cut off a little bit short before I realized. So I think what I was talking about was just about the two things that I'm focusing on while painting at the moment, is just the paint consistency and brush control. So obviously from one mini to another, there's, you know, a few different techniques that I'm trying to develop, highlighting, shading, blending, different things like that. But just the two main things that I'm really focusing on getting right is that consistency and brush control. You know, if I try and do a bit of highlighting, it doesn't quite work out, not the end of the world. You know, there's always another mini. But yeah, really focusing on paint consistency, brush control, because yeah, can't remember, sort of, it was last night when I was doing that last video, can't remember exactly what I said about it, but yeah, all those other techniques that are going to come over time, I figure at their core is going to be, you know, those two things, that regardless of the technique, the paint needs to have the right consistency, and yeah, really need that brush control to make sure the paint's going where it's supposed to be going. So yeah, you can just see in there, bit of her hair, had it a bit thin, went into her neck, so I need to touch that up a little bit, and then yeah, just gonna keep going. Okay, so here's where Severity was up to last time I was painting her when I finished the last video, and just from having a look at it and just the level of detail that's in this model, and just keeping in mind the sort of game that Zombie 15 is, how fast-paced it is and how long the minis actually spend on the table and how closely they're looked at, I don't really think doing any more than what I have so far is worth it with her. It's a very flat model, about the most amount of detail. You can just pick it up here. There's a couple of sort of creases in the bottom of a skirt there. That's about as much as there is. I mean, with a bit of a wash on her jacket, it could maybe do the tiniest bit of highlighting, but I just don't think it's going to be worth it for a mini like this. So all I'm going to do from here is just do a couple of little touch-ups. So there's a couple of spots around her hair. You know, might be able to see just on her shoulder there's a bit of the black from her hair's gone onto her shoulder. Just going to clean that up. Need to do her eyes. Just a couple of little spots on her hair just in there to do. And then I might put a black wash just on the guns, just because they are very, very bright, just to tone them down a little bit. And then it'll be the base, and I think that's going to be it. Anything else, I just don't think it's going to be worth spending the time on. So yeah, so I'm just going to get into that. Just do those touch-ups, eyes, put a wash on the guns, and then paint her base. So just quickly on it there, just why I'm doing this black wash, just thinking like thematically, in the game Zombie Apocalypse, you know, these guns have probably been used a few times, a bit dirty, they're not going to have that real sort of metallic shine that they do at the moment. So obviously the one on this side here is the one that I've got the wash on, and the one this side here hasn't been touched on this side. So you can see the difference there, just how it, you know, it's still got that metallic look, but it just takes that shine off, and that's just why I'm doing that, just so that it looks a little bit more worn, and just doesn't have that real sort of bright shine to it that a gun that's been around a zombie apocalypse is not going to have. Alright, but that's it. That's all I'm going to do there. That's enough just to knock that down. Alright, so now I'm just going to do her eyes, do her base, and we're going to call Severity done. Very, very simple mini. Yeah, just not enough detail in there to warrant going ahead and doing any highlighting or anything like that. And yeah, just with the amount of time that they're going to spend on the table and how closely they'll be looked at, the payoff just isn't going to be there for spending the time to do that. All right, so again, with the eyes, I've run through this with the both the Siphon video and the Vance video, and just because of the trouble that I had painting eyes at the start and how easy this technique is that I've picked up along the way, I just want to keep sort of sharing this one. So if you've watched either of those other videos and you've seen this, you can probably skip forward a little bit for that, but yeah, if you haven't yet, this is how I paint eyes. This is pretty small, so going to be a little bit tricky. I might actually just hold off on her eyes for a second, just on this side. I think I've just touched a little bit too much hair on her face, so it's not really leaving much room actually for her eye. So I'm just going to go back, just touch that bit up just with the skin tone, and then when that's dry, then I'll go ahead and do the eyes. So just going to pull that hair back a little bit. Okay, so pretty small difference on a mini this size, but I think just pulling it back that little bit has just made it look a bit better. All right, so now I'm going to go to black and just paint the eye sockets. I'll start with this side just to give that side just a little bit longer to dry. And this is with my insane detail brush. So all I'm going to do is just fill the eye socket with black. Bring it back into the middle a bit more. And at this point, doesn't need to look perfect because it will do a bit of shaping to make it look right at the end. Right, so that's all it is at this point. Just filling the eye socket just with black. And anytime I do something that's quite fine like this, I go back and get paint back in the tip of the bristles quite a lot more than what I would if I was painting a broader surface. Just sort of almost touch them together, that's okay though, can fix that up. But yeah, just because I'm trying to keep that sort of fine detail, I find if I just keep the brush in the tip, it just helps me get that finer detail instead of just using it and then having to press a bit harder, which just makes it spread out and you don't get that fine point. Okay, so now that the two eye sockets are painted, now I'm just going to go to white. And all I want to do is just leave the top edge of each socket, just to sort of create that line at the top of the eyes. So it's going to be a pretty fine line on here, but we'll see how we go. Okay, so just something like that. Now it looks a bit sloppy at the moment, but we'll clean the edges of the eyes up with the skin tone when we're sort of done, so that'll just neaten it up. So now it's just the pupils. And really the main thing with painting the eyes at this point is just trying to keep it each side symmetrical, because if it looks symmetrical, then it pretty well looks right. Don't know if that's picking it up too well. But anyway, so that's looking all right. So now it's just back to the skin tone. And starting from the inside of the nose, work into the outside corner, just shaping the eye. All right, so there we go, that's picking it up a little bit better. So yeah, so it's just left that black line along the top, and then the whites in the pupil. I was going to go back and try and I might still actually have a go, just with the skin tone, just to split the eyes just where they touched in the middle. It might be a little bit too fine to be able to get that, but we'll see how we go. Cool, yeah, got it. All right, so that's as much as I'm going to do on Severity. Yeah, could do some highlighting on her cardigan jacket thing, but there's just not enough detail in there for I think it to be worth it. So now I'm just going to go and do her base, paint that blue, and then we're going to call her done. Alright, so there we go. So that's got one coat on a base, definitely needs another coat. A little bit of black sort of coming through on this side. So after that's dried, I'll give that another coat, and then Severity will be all done. So we'll come back when that's dry, and we'll finish her off. Alright, so we're back to finish off the Severity video. Last thing to do with her is just to get the last coat on her base. You can still see there's a bit of colour coming through there, so I just need to finish that off, and then she's going to be done. yeah, very, very basic mini, so haven't really done any highlighting or shading or anything like that. Just don't think it's worth it with the level of detail in her. And again, with the type of game that Zombie 15 is, these minis are just not sitting on the table for long enough for these things to really stand out. So just good enough to do the job. So just going to get this second coat on the base, and then yeah, another Zombie 15 survival will be finished. All right, so in editing, worked out I got a little bit carried away at the end of the last part of the video there where I called it quits on Severity after finishing off her base. No blood. So we need to actually finish her off. Yeah, so excited that I thought she was done. Forgot to actually get this last step done. So going to put a bit of blood on her, and then she will actually be finished. So yeah, this is the third video in the series. So if you've sort of been watching along, you've seen how I've done the blood so far. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll still run through how I've been doing blood effects so far. So using one of the first brushes that I bought, these did the job at first, but I've gone and bought newer brushes since then. So I've just sort of kept these brushes around just for doing things where it doesn't matter if I have to sort of treat them not as well as what I really should be with the ones that I'm using regularly. So to do the blood effects where it looks like a splatter, I just fray out the bristles so that I can get some paint on the tips of them, not too much, rub most of it off so it's a bit like a dry brush, and then just kind of stipple it on, and then by having the brushes spread apart, it just sort of gives that spatter effect. When I first did the blood on the zombies, which are all painted now, I just used straight red, like here, but the problem with that effect was that it was just way too bright. In terms of the effect of, blood that's dried or maybe come from, someone that has been dead for a while, it's just not going to have that vibrancy to it. So I'm now knocking it down with a bit of brown, just to make it look like it has, I don't know what the medical terms are, but just that it's not fresh anymore. So just with a bit of brown, so it's just taking that real vibrancy of the red away. So just a little bit more like that, and then yeah, just wiping most of it off on some paper towel just off to the side there, and then just coming back. Just going to bring in Vance, who I'm also painting at the same time, and you can see with him he's got quite a bit of blood on him. So even with minis at this scale, I like to tell like a little bit of a story, I suppose, with the way that I paint them, and then think about what the character is actually doing, so how they would actually look. So with Vance, with his machetes, he's going to be getting up close to the zombies, hacking and slashing. He's going to be covered in quite a bit of blood, which is why he has quite a bit. He's even got some up on his head there, a lot on his blades. So he's got quite a bit of blood. Whereas Severity, with her gun, she's more of a ranged fighter. She's not going to be covered in as much. Even if I bring in Siphon, who I've done as well. So like, a bit of blood on her gloves there, because if she's going to be punching, that's where it's going to be concentrated a bit. So yeah, I just like to think about what the characters are actually doing, and how that's going to look. So even though these minis are pretty small and move around pretty quick, not looked at too much, I still try and sort of have them looking the way that they really would. So I won't be putting as much blood on Severity as what I did on Vance, who's up much more close than what she would be, and even Siphon as well, who's if she's punching away, she doesn't have as much as what Vance does, but will still have more than what Severity does. So yeah, so it's just a literal case of just stippling some blood on there. doesn't take too much to get the effect. So yeah, so with her, so not too much, just enough to make her look like she's been in, you know, she's had a couple of fights. She's able to defend herself. That's why she's still alive. And what I've also found with doing this sort of effect, if you want the blood to look like it's dried, like it's been there for longer, have a drier brush. And if you want to have it make it look like it's fresher, get a bit more on your brush. And now I've got some on the brush, and I'm not wiping it onto the paper towel. So just straight on there, and it just, don't know if it's picking it up so much on the camera there, but it just makes it look a little bit thicker, like it just hasn't dried quite yet. Got a little bit more red into that bit there, so there, that just stands out a little bit more. Yeah, a little bit more like that. So maybe she sort of had a zombie sneak up from behind. This is a little bit more on the back than on the front. I'll just pop a little bit more down there. All right, so there we go. And that's all I'm going to do for her. So yeah, so now she's actually finished off. Just got a bit carried away last time. Got too excited that she was done. But yeah, so there we are. So Severity's all finished there. Blood effect done. So she's been in a couple of battles, and she's all good. So yeah, so thanks very much for watching this this Zombie 15 video, Severity. Really appreciate that you've taken the time to watch. Hopefully you've gotten something out of watching me paint her and trying a couple of different things, or at the very least you've just enjoyed watching. Please leave a comment below. These are my first few videos, and I do want these videos to be as good as they can be, so that you guys can get as much out of watching these as possible. So please leave a comment below with what you liked, what you think could be improved. I do want that feedback. You know, it's easy for me to watch them and think, hey, yep, no, that's all looking good. But yeah, if there are things that the things that you like, let me know. I'll keep doing them. Things that you think could be improved, let me know about that as well, and I'll do my best to include your feedback to make these as good as possible. And yeah, please hit that like and subscribe so I know that you guys are enjoying watching these, and you can keep up to date with when these videos keep coming up. So yeah, so thanks for watching. Enjoy your painting, and this is Matt signing out. Cheers.